Lunch, as soon as I hit the carbs, if I have pasta or
No, it's much more
pasta
important.
salad, I think it's so charged. You got caffeine in it. Nope.
It's more, something like this.
I should have brought my
You're okay.
I'm not. This is better.
I'll call the meeting to order for the McHenry County Zoning Board of Appeals. The purpose for our hearing today is application 2024-004. The applicant is Toro Construction Partnership, LLC. The request is for a conditional use permit to allow for a commercial solar energy facility. The property consists of 42.88 acres and is located on the east side of Dean Street, approximately 3,900 feet north of the intersection of Dean Street and Illinois Route 176 in Joy Township, Illinois, Woodstock, Illinois, and the PIN number is 13-29-100-012. At this time, I'd like the members of the board to introduce themselves and the township in which they reside, starting on my right, Mr. Jers.
Thomas Jers from Coral Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Vicki Gardner, Nunda Township.
I'm Linnea Kruster from Alden Township.
Mary Donner, Greenwood Township.
Bob Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Jessica Beverly, Door Township.
This petition has been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. The publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated March 2nd, 2024, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and the date posted was March 11, 2024, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. Affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was February 29, 2024, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. Filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation has been received, and the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. At this time, I would swear in anyone who will be wanting to speak today, whether you're going to be asking a question or giving any testimony. I would ask you to raise your right hand if you'd be speaking. Will you be?
I won't.
You won't be? Okay. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Just for, if you're not familiar with our hearings, what happens is the petitioner gives their testimony, they're asked questions by a member of the board and then staff, and then if there's any public wanting to ask a question, they would do so. And then staff will give their report, and then any member of the public can give a statement. Then we'll have closing remarks, and we'll move to a voting. So at this time, I'll just go ahead and hand it over to the petitioner. Please introduce yourselves and your position with the company.
Matt Balbert with Westwood Professional Services. I'm the environmental consultant on the project. And I'll let Christian introduce himself.
Yep, Christian Schlesinger, Senior Project Manager with Forefront Power, representing Toro Construction.
And as you know, this is being recorded, so, I'd like to keep it separate as
Yep.
possible, your testimony. Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, and Matt will start. So I'll start with a really quick overview of the project. Did you go to page 10 of the staff report, the project layout? And so as previously discussed, this is a 39.91 acre project on a 42.88 acre site. And that's been confirmed by the submitted certificate of survey. This is actually two parcels, not just one. So the two parcel IDs are 13-29-100-012 and also 13-29-100-015. Just a point of clarification.
Kim, was that the way it was posted?
It was, yeah, that was my mistake leaving it off the staff report.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure it's on the record. So, and they're both owned by the same landowner, which is the Shirley A. Osmond Dean Street Property Revocable Trust. So that's kind of a quick overview of the parcel. A quick overview of the project. It will be a 4.5 megawatt AC solar project, which will consist of 12,714 panels, and they will be bifacial 530 watt modules. They're constructed of laminated glass that is coated with an anti-reflective material. They're single axis trackers, and they're tilting between 60 and negative 60 degrees. The project will also include 18 inverters. And there will be a single downward-facing light at the project entrance, and the project perimeter will consist of a 7-foot-high fence. Included in the packet has been a fully signed agricultural impact mitigation agreement, which is included in Appendix F. The EcoCat request has been completed and is included in Appendix D. The NRI report has been completed and is included in Appendix C. We've also completed initial SHPO coordination. And then in addition to these studies, the following would be also completed during the building permit phase, which would be a decommissioning plan, the vegetation management plan, and also a wetland delineation will be completed, and the project will meet the requirements of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and also McHenry County's wetland requirements. And then we also would be completing a drain tile study. And that is the project, very similar to the one we were here for a couple of weeks ago, so I think if you have questions, we'd be welcome to take them.
Okay, so the principal use standards for a commercial solar energy facility, the site design, safety, abandonment, those sorts of things. Would you just kind of, I mean, whatever you haven't covered already, would you just kind of go through those and just make sure that
Oh, the approval
address
standards?
pending here?
Oh, sure, yep. Okay, I'm sorry, I was quite ready for this part. Yeah, so the Part A application, the threatened and endangered species consultation has been completed and it was included. The site plan has been included and it does show all improvements. It includes the structures, the fencing, the power line, the point of interconnection, and landscaping. It does show the screening, and the screening does meet all the applicable setbacks. And then for the site design, the structures and the panels do meet all the setbacks. And then nothing will be over 20 feet high. Again, the only lighting would be the downward facing lighting. The solar panels are anti-glare panels. And the facility has been situated to minimize the impacts to woodlands, savannas, wetlands. The drain tiles will be addressed, as we said, and then we are staying out of all floodplains. And then we will comply with the stormwater management ordinance, so the stormwater plan would be completed as a part of the building permit stage. And we are committed to doing a low-growing native non-invasive species mix underneath the panels, and then a more diverse pollinator mix along the edges outside of the panel areas. The fencing will be in compliance with the code. Again, all areas within 500 feet of non-participating residents or the roads are showing screening with native non-invasive shrubs. And the landscape monitoring and maintenance plan will be completed prior to the building permit. And the agricultural impact mitigation agreement has been completed and is fully executed with the Illinois Department of Agriculture. And we will be pursuing the road use agreement with the county prior to the building permit. And we will also provide an emergency management plan prior to the building permit. We will have a sign on site as specified, and access will be granted and for inspection of the site by the county, the local fire district. And the fire district has reviewed our plan, and we've made some modifications from our initial plan based off the fire department's comments to provide turnarounds for them. And we actually provided a second one that wasn't, they didn't even per se need, but we kept it in the plan. And then again, all panels would be removed, replaced, repaired within 60 days of the damage. And that will be monitored through the online monitoring system. And then we will be completing a decommissioning plan that will address the items in number 4, abandonment, and also in item 5, the decommissioning plan. So that will be completed prior to construction.
Okay, we'll start with questions from my left. Ms. Beverly.
As in past applications, would you be opposed to an additional condition regarding IDNR pollinator scorecard standards?
No, and actually after our last meeting, I actually discussed that with our team, and that we will be, we're in our vegetative maintenance plans, we are addressing that scorecard.
Okay.
So we'll be wrapped into that, so.
That's all I had.
Mr. Posen.
Thank you. Good afternoon. In the groups that you've had contact with, do you have any information as to who does the maintenance for Dean Street and what arrangements may be needed?
Like as far as a road use agreement?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we haven't really started pursuing that yet. We're trying to get through this stage first, and then we'll be pursuing that. I believe it's township maintenance actually at that point. Township maintenance, I believe, starts at the intersection to the north of the site, and I forget the name of that road.
Have you, I'm sorry?
Sorry, Lucas Road.
Prior or existing projects in Illinois or experience underway of projects in Illinois?
Like me personally, or?
No, not your company or?
Yeah, we've been working in Illinois since like 2014. We've probably completed, Westwood has probably completed 400 to 500 projects in the state.
Affiliated with any specific commercial or subscription distribution of the power?
No, we're not. So we're a consultant. So we work for a number of the development firms, and we provide full service. So we're surveyors, we're engineers, we're landscape architects, we're electrical engineers, we're environmental. So we kind of provide all those services, all those reports, all those studies in support of the developer.
Just to follow that along, so who reaches out and obtains those services in the process?
Well, the developer usually approaches us, and then we complete most of that work.
Right, but I meant in terms of the subscription and the commercial.
Oh, the subscription side, yeah. Christian could probably speak better to that.
Christian Schlesinger from Forefront. So this facility will be a community solar facility. We have an interconnection agreement with the utility to interconnect into their substation. And then we will partner with a subscription firm that will then go out and sell subscriptions to the local community, residents as well as businesses. That has not been, that relationship has not been made.
Thank you. And financial impact or change of finances in terms of land use generated, given what the property taxes?
Sure, this is Matt, and that's probably more of a county assessor question, but generally it changes from agriculture to some sort of commercial industrial use, so the property tax should be higher.
It's 1.5.
What is the estimated valuation of the construction material that's going in on this site?
That would be a Christian question.
I know. I don't know that number off the top of my head. I mean, that's something I could provide if that's.
Do you have a neighborhood? Is it $100,000, $100 million?
Certainly something between there. It's probably going to be in the range of about 10 million, something like that.
And this is Matt, and the decommissioning plans usually will have those numbers built in, because that's also how they estimate how much it would cost to decommission the site.
The property has two locations of some hydric soils that seem to influence the pattern of panels. What certainty do you have in terms of how you configured your panels relative to the hydric soils?
Yep, yeah, and especially for the north one, which appears quite a bit wetter, you can see that it's on the NRCS wetland mapping, it's actually kind of mismatched. It's showing that wetland up on the hillside, and then on the air photo, you can clearly see where those signatures are, in the bottom of that, and that's a pretty deep depression. So that's why even though we're showing panels in the NRCS wetland, you can see we're avoiding where the wetland appears to actually sit on the landscape. The south one is a little less clear. It's farmed quite a few years. We haven't completed the wetland delineation, so we're working around that. And as I said earlier, we'll complete a wetland delineation, and we'll comply with all the rules with the Corps of Engineers and also with McHenry County's wetland ordinance. So if that is determined to be an actual wetland, based off the field review and the aerial photo review of the cropping history, then we would probably be putting in for like a wetland modification permit from the county. So the Corps of Engineers, these two wetlands are almost for sure going to be non-jurisdictional with the Corps because they're isolated basins.
It seems that the total is almost nearly 10 acres, but that doesn't present a concern.
No, and, you know, again, that, you know, the hydric soils mapping that's not the wetlands, that's just areas that have hydric soils in them. There is drainage on site, you know, there is some tile lines that we've seen in, especially in the northwest corner, there's a tile pickup. So, you know, even though there's hydric soils on site, they're probably for the most part drained other than those two depressions.
Have you received any direct comment from any of the adjoining property owners?
Nope, not to my knowledge, and I don't think the county has either, to my knowledge. And the sign's still up. I was out there this afternoon, so, you know, it was posted. And there's not a lot. I mean, to the north, there's one residence. To the south, it is, I think it's like a landscape operation. And then to the east is pretty much undeveloped. So most of the neighbors that are directly adjoining are the property owners immediately across the road, so.
Thank you. That concludes my questions.
To build on Bob's comments, that subdivision has 15 lots. I don't know, I've asked how many of those lots have been improved because I didn't get over there to see.
There's 15.
It is-
15 homes there.
They're all done, it's all.
There was one vacant lot, there's actually 16 lots, one of them is vacant.
Okay, are you considering any kind of a, what's the word?
Outreach.
I'm sorry?
Outreach.
No, outreach. They've been, the notice is there and it's right there. How much, if there's anything that we can do to mitigate any issues of looking at all of these panels. And that's a lot of panels in front of 15 houses.
Oh, there is a buffer though.
There
Yep,
is,
so we have the
okay.
buffer setback, and we also have a vegetative screening. So there will be, essentially, along the entire frontage of the road there will be 2 rows of shrubs.
Great,
Yep,
okay.
yep, and those are native shrubs. They're 2 rows. They grow, we're not exactly done yet, but the ones we've generally been using in Illinois are fairly fast-growing species that are growing 2 to 3 feet a year. And then they also are species that tend to either hold their leaves, or we'll use a mix of with evergreen species. But so they'll screen out, and then the 2 rows are set like offset, so they'll fill each other in, if that makes sense. So once the shrubs are fully established, there should be screening
Okay,
along the
then I
entire.
have no other questions. Okay. Ms. Hart?
The fence that you're planning on, you said it's a 7-foot fence.
Yep.
And is it the agricultural type of fence with the square wire and the wood railing and posts?
Christian here, that hasn't been specified yet. If that's something that the county or the board would prefer, then we can make that a condition.
Generally, it is preferred
Right.
by the county. It just looks more farm-like.
And this is Matt, so we do specify chain link in the application, just to follow the electric code, but obviously that can be changed at the county's discretion, so.
Okay. Also, you said there's a sign on the site?
Yep, there will be a sign at the entrance, and that's a requirement of the agricultural impact mitigation agreement. And so that sign has to have a point of contact, like, who to call about a problem with the solar facility.
Okay. And where will the lighting be located?
Essentially right there at the entrance. So if you look up, it'll be where the gate is, just so like they have lighting at the gate. It's downward cast, so it won't be shining out or up, but it's mainly just for security, for access. If somebody's getting there at night, they can see the gate and the lock and all that, so.
So it isn't really, or is it near the residence?
It would be kind of in the center of the site, if you can see where the road comes in.
Along the western
Yeah.
side.
Yeah,
Okay. So it would kind of be there for them?
yeah, but again, it's just gonna be a downward cast light, like a street light that's facing only down, just at the entrance.
Well, maybe I have a question for those who reside here. Is there street lighting along that?
Yeah, I don't know that answer.
Existing
No,
street lighting?
intersections, yep.
Just at intersections.
I was gonna say, we could remove that light if there was existing street lighting already.
Is it possible to make it motion sensoring light or something that would be only for use of people needing to go in there?
I believe so, yeah, I believe that exists, so it's something we can certainly address and use if it,
All right, yeah, make a note of that. Now, you're leasing this property?
Yes.
Okay, and you're leasing it from who?
From the trust. That's the name of the trust.
So it's the Shirley A. Osmond Dean Street Property Revocable Trust.
Okay. So you're what's the name of your company again?
I'm with Westwood Professional Services.
Westwood Professional?
Yep.
Okay. There's just so many companies named in this application.
Yeah, and so again, the kind of like, we're their consultant, so we're the ones that handle the engineering, the site design, all the environmental studies and things like that. So I'm not the actual developer, I'm their consultant that
Okay,
handles a lot of the civil engineering work, the survey work, the environmental work.
okay, so who hired you to do this then?
Christian's company.
And your company,
I'm with Forefront Power.
your Forefront Power, that is in here, yes. Okay, and then who is Toro?
So Toro is an entity that was created in partnership with a company that's licensed here in Illinois for the program, for the interconnection program.
So what is their part in this?
So Forefront is a majority shareholder, and it's really just a partnership to be able to be part of the Illinois program, the Illinois Shines program.
Okay, all right, so your company designed this site?
It's a combination. So yes, Forefront has designed it, and then Westwood has also added to that design for the purpose of this presentation.
Okay. So it was mentioned that there's, I forget if the term is inverters or converters, but there's 18 of them somewhere.
Yep.
Can you tell me where they are?
So they are on the two pads, the ones to the very north.
Maybe go up and.
Yeah, that might be easier. Yeah, so this will be one of the inverter pads here,
Okay,
and then the second one is right here.
okay,
Yeah.
so there's only two.
Yep, and so there'll be 9 in each spot.
Okay,
They're small inverters that are in series.
okay. Is that typical to put a cluster of them?
Yes.
together?
Yep.
Okay, so what's the noise factor from one of these pads?
They are about 70 decibels each, and then as you stack them up, it doesn't go up, it doesn't double. So we just actually completed a study with 10 inverters, and the noise, like a meter away from the inverter for the 10 was about 90 decibels. And then it dissipates pretty fast.
Okay, but this is, one of these is just directly across from the residence. Can that be moved somewhere else so it isn't like right there with the light and everything else?
One thing that needs to be considered here is access. So, that's why we always have it along the site access road, so that if they do need replacing, we do need to be able to get to them with trucks and, with a small crane to be able to lift them out and replace them. So we do have the depressions of where we're listed at the wetland locations, which we really need to avoid as well. We don't want to have a driveway run through there.
Right, I understand that.
So the distance that we're talking, we're going to have a landscape buffer. There will be some distance between the property line and the equipment pad locations, plus, the distance between the street and to the neighboring residents on the other side of the road. So that does become quite a distance to those residents. And the noise will dissipate pretty quickly over that length.
And the other thing is that the inverters only run when the panels are operating.
Right.
So there'll be
So
no
they-
noise from the inverters at night. Once the sun goes down, there'll be zero noise essentially.
Okay, I think that's all I have, thank you.
Mr. Schnabel.
I would just like to ask a little bit more about the light, just one light.
Yep.
At what height? Would it be the top of a telephone pole or the top of the gate or somewhere in between? Roughly?
Yeah, it would typically be at the 7-foot height, just enough clearance to be able to that gate to swing open. But we have a gate height of 7 feet to meet the NEC code.
The reason I ask is it's not typically being done with the vast majority of these applications for solar farms. It's kind of an odd man out in this particular instance. And would you say that you're looking for the light more for the service people or more to deter vandalism potentially? Or?
For service. And if it's preferred to eliminate the light, we could certainly take that out of the plan.
What sort of fixture are we talking about? What type of bulb, wattage, et cetera?
I mean, that hasn't been specified. It doesn't need to be much. It's really just for an employee to be able to walk up to the gate and be able to, there'll be a Knox box.
You're not talking a big sodium light or something?
No, just enough to be able to see the lock location.
Well, we did cover the motion detector aspect of it.
Right.
Right. That's all I was curious about at this time. I'll pass along. Thanks.
Mr. Church?
Thank you. How many households will your proposed project supply?
The estimate is about 500.
500 households?
Yeah.
I see. So will all of the the proposed project will be used here in McHenry County, or what percentage will be sold outside the county?
Christian Schlesinger here. So through the subscription process, the company that we partner with will start, the radius will be within McHenry County and start selling the subscriptions. If they're not completely 100% sold, subscriptions sold at that point, the radius will increase and then, slowly go outside of McHenry County if needed. If
So you anticipate some of it will be sold outside the county?
Unless it's 100%, so, unless it's 100% subscribed within McHenry County.
Okay.
But it would be initially with the campaign would begin within the county.
How long is your lease with the landowners, including options?
20-year lease with 2 5-year options.
20 plus 5 plus 5.
Correct.
30-year max.
Correct.
And how many years are you asking McHenry County for this conditional use permit? To the end of your lease, or then you come back and renew it?
I
to
think
the
the
end?
state is that we can't put a limit on it, Tom, so they don't need to even ask, it just goes
Okay,
with no.
so it's forever and ever.
I think that's my understanding with the.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
I have a question back to the sound of the inverters. So how far away would you need to be that you wouldn't hear that sound of those 10 inverters?
It really varies on a lot of climatic conditions.
What would be the farthest that you could hear it?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question. The last one we just did, we were 400 feet away on a sound study, and the noise of them was imperceptible with the background noise of a rural area. But again, it's going to vary on landscape. As the landscape buffer becomes more established, that's going to provide more sound buffer from them. But again, the noise dissipates really fast, and I'm sorry, I'm not a sound person. It dissipates fast, and it's really had not been a concern on a lot of projects. So.
And do you have a guesstimate as to how far those inverters would be to the nearest residence?
No, I don't. I could
be closer to than that 400 feet.
I don't believe so.
No, I don't think so either. But
So, yeah, I mean, just looking at the drawing there, and I mean, we have a 50-foot setback, so I don't think they're going to be closer than 400 feet. No.
Okay. I also have a question. In the NRI report, it shows the northwest portion, 13 acres of this parcel with severe limitations for soil-anchored solar arrays. So how do you handle that if those soils are so bad?
Oh, sure.
And with the slope and everything, how are you going to handle that?
Yep, and that comes back to there'll be a geotech at some point where they'll go out there and they'll actually drill and they'll take soil samples, they'll verify the soils are there, and then one of our structural engineers takes a look at that geotech report, and then they offer the recommendations for how the pier should be put in. And generally, it's the depth that the piers are pounded to, but also in some situations, they do go with other sort of bases, like screw-in bases or other structural remedies for those soil conditions.
Like what other sorts of remedies would there be?
Like I said, the one thing I've seen a lot is like a screw-in, so instead of just an eye post, it's like a augered post, and that augered post goes in, and it offers a lot more stability. I've seen a few where they grout them in with like a concrete footing, but that's very, very rare, because that gets expensive, so.
And we don't allow that in our county.
I would have to check on that. I think it does say in our requirements that they're supposed to be driven piles, but I would have to check on that.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like I said, the main thing is just the depth the piles are driven to is usually what the structural engineer recommends, so. But and again, I'm not a structural engineer, so.
There will be a structural engineer included, as well as the the racking company will also engineer the racking system during the final construction document.
I'm sure you don't want to invest all that kind of money and then have it not be stable. So
Correct,
have
yep.
have that problem solved. Okay, those are the only questions I have. Staff, do you have any questions?
I just had one question. I know you haven't done the wetland delineation yet, but do you anticipate any changes to the layout depending on what that southern area looks like as far as?
Yeah, it could potentially be tweaked, especially if we do have a little bit of wetland in there, and if there's a way to avoid it, I think we would look to that.
Okay.
And that north.
Removed out of that area?
Yeah, and even because I think our what we're setting back from the northern wetland is probably really way more than we need to also, but we're trying to be, trying to be conservative, so we have room to move things a little bit if we need to.
Okay, and the northern area, as far as where the NRCS wetland is designated, you don't anticipate that being accurate,
It's a part of it's hillside, yeah. I think it's just that the other one, for whatever reason, is mismapped. Either the aerial they used was not georeferenced correctly. A lot of those NRCS ones were done a long time ago.
Okay.
So.
Okay, I think that was my only question.
Mr. Cozen, you have another question?
So, yes, I do. Since we're moving deck chairs around in terms of the illustration, the possibility that, again, what you mentioned in terms of the accurate reporting of the soils in that area, and given the expressed concern of the inverter to the east side of the roadway and the subdivision to the west, that inverter possibly could then be moved further easterly, not substantially to jeopardize service. I just give that consideration in terms
Yeah, we
of your
could
drive.
potentially use some tweaking of it, yeah.
Right, and so
Yeah.
therefore that may go beyond that 400, 500, whatever that ambient noise. traffic.
Yeah, obviously anything moving east is just gonna increase that
Right,
distance, so.
And likewise, the inverter to the north west corner could therefore move us southerly away from the residence that adjoins it north of.
Yeah, we could run like the distance from that one to the southwest and the one to the north and see which one's
Right.
close, put it at the optimal spot, yep.
Right. But even, we're talking 15 feet
Yep.
each aisle, so you're almost just 2 aisles over, and you're over 100 feet of gain.
Sure. Yep.
To the property owners. That's, somewhere in there was a question, but thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions for the petitioner, we'll move on to the staff report.
Okay, so the property is zoned A1 Agriculture District. Surrounding the property is also A1 Agriculture, except for the subdivision Willowwood Estates to the west that is zoned E1 Estate District. The surrounding land uses are also agricultural, except for that subdivision, which is single-family residential there. To the south, as it was mentioned previously, it's a commercial garden and landscape nursery center. There is a residence on the property, but that's been there for quite a while, and it is quite a distance. I believe it's about 500 or 600 feet away from the site there. Future land use designation for the property is residential. And I believe all of the state requirements for minimum setbacks from lot lines, as well as residential, adjacent residences being more than 150 feet, have been met. I had a couple of photos out on the site there, that you can see the depressional areas that were discussed, and the residences that are across the street. But I didn't see anything that was any concern as far as sight lines or anything like that. I believe all the requirements have been met.
So the requirements for the state siting have been met,
Yes.
as well as the requirements in our ordinance?
Yes, correct.
Questions from the board?
I have.
Ms. Dunn?
Did you want to, anybody else? You can? I can. There was a report that came out this morning from the Water Resource Department, and I believe that you guys got it at the same time. It's not asking them questions, it's just I've asked and they said everybody did.
Yes.
That's all, everything that we're talking about, and half of what we're talking about here are all permitting. That report has to do with permitting after this is taken care of. Okay, that's all I wanted to know, that everybody got it and everybody knows what it's about.
Kim?
Yes.
Were the city of Woodstock and the villages of Lakewood and Crystal Lake notified in writing of this hearing?
They were notified. We haven't heard from any of them, but yes.
No replies as of yet.
Correct.
And what does the McHenry County's 2030 plan call for this property?
For residential.
Thank you.
Okay. No other questions? Then we'll move on to a closing statement unless anyone wants to make a statement. Okay. So a closing statement.
Well, I just thank you all for being here and hearing us out, hearing our application. And, you know, we're here to be good neighbors, and we look forward to moving this project forward.
Okay, so we'll close the hearing portion of this meeting and we'll move to the voting portion. Again, this is application 2024-004, applicant Toro Construction Partnership LLC. The request is a conditional use permit to allow for a commercial solar energy facility. There are two different PIN numbers, 13-29-100-012 and 13-29-100-015. Property located on the east side of Dean Street, 3,900 feet north of the intersection of Dean Street and Illinois Route 176, Dora Township. We have some proposed conditions. I'll read them. The first one, the conditional use shall have no time limit unless the use is abandoned as specified in 16.56.030.pp.4 of the McHenry County Unified Development Ordinance. Number 2, site development shall be in substantial conformance with the site plan prepared by Westwood Professional Services, dated February 29, 2024, and received by the Department of Planning and Development on March 1, 2024. Number 3, the decommissioning plan shall be applicable in part as well as in whole. If any portion of the commercial solar energy facility ceases to perform its intended function for more than 12 consecutive months, that portion of the facility shall be decommissioned in compliance with all the terms of the decommissioning plan. Number 4, a McHenry County stormwater management permit shall be secured prior to construction. Any damaged drainage tile shall be repaired at the expense of the petitioner and in a manner satisfactory to the Water Resources Division Manager. Number 5, a detailed landscape plan illustrating compliance with required landscape screening standards shall be approved by the zoning enforcement officer prior to issuance of construction/building permit. Number 6, fencing shall be provided in compliance with the National Electrical Code as applicable. The use of barbed wire is prohibited. Setting fence posts in concrete is prohibited except for gate posts and where otherwise required for stability. Number 7, all requirements of McHenry County Unified Development Ordinance 16.56.030.pp as amended, subject to State of Illinois Public Act 102-1123 and Public Act 103-0580, shall be met or exceeded unless specifically amended by this conditional use permit. Number 8, all other federal, state, and local laws shall be met. Are there any additions to these conditions?
I would like to propose an addition to condition number 5 that states A detailed landscape plan illustrating compliance with required landscape screening standards and IDNR pollinator scorecard standards and land management practices shall be approved by the zoning enforcement officer prior to issuance of the construction building permit.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Beverly, second by Ms. Donner. Discussion, Ms. Beverly.
This is consistent with our ability to make conditions upon these requests, and it's consistent with the petitioner's application and testimony.
Any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. Ms. Gardner.
Yes.
Mr. Cozen.
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel.
Yes.
Ms. Beverly.
Yes.
Mr. Jers.
Yes.
Ms. Donner.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That's approved 6-0. Any other additions?
I have a question before I make a motion. Can we actually make a condition for fencing to be specific?
It has to be consistent with the NEC code, so depending what
Yeah.
you're talking about
It would be, but, because,
for the style.
for the agricultural style.
I believe you can, because it is at least consistent with the NEC, which is what is required by the state.
Okay, all right, in that case, I move that we add agricultural type fencing shall be provided in compliance with the National Electrical Code.
If that's a motion, Madam Chairman, I would second it.
Been moved by Ms. Gardner, second by Mr. Cozen to add this new condition. Discussion. Ms. Gardner.
I just feel that it would be consistent with everything that we've been asking for from different solar companies, and that it is more appealing, especially in a situation where it's right across from residents.
Any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. Ms. Gardner.
Yes.
Mr. Cozen.
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel.
Yes.
Ms. Beverly.
Yes.
Mr. Jers.
Yes.
Ms. Donner.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so this condition is also approved 7-0. Why did I say 6-0? 7-0.
Because Charlie's not here.
I don't know. I'm thinking about tomorrow. I know there's only going to be 6.
Okay.
All right, any other proposed conditions?
I have one more.
Okay,
I move that lighting on the site shall be motion censored.
No. I'm sorry.
No?
No, not yet. I'm sorry. We wait for discussion.
all right, it's been moved by Ms. Gardner. Does she have a second?
I'll second for the purpose of discussion.
All right, seconded by Ms. Beverly. Discussion, Ms. Gardner.
It just feels that it would be easier for the residents to have a light that isn't consistently on, that's only on when it's needed, which at night shouldn't be very often.
Any other discussion?
What do you do about a deer that walks by? What do you do about a car that drives by? If it's close enough for everybody to see, that motion sensor may be more disruptive than having a light that's
Yeah.
on all the time, especially if it's only 7 feet above ground.
I thought of that, but there are sensitivity settings that you know, for,
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Can I ask this question, staff? Don't we have a lighting ordinance that
We-
would apply in this case anyway?
We do have lighting requirements. Specifically, it's just going to state that it needs to be shielded, downward facing and shielded. It doesn't specify though as far as whether it's motion or static.
And is this type of condition in excess of what's required in our ordinance?
I mean, it is because it doesn't outline what type of light that it needs to be.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I'd like to, given that this light is a service light, I am troubled to interject a standard for a service light at a time where immediacy and access, it could be, even in a nighttime condition, are needed at this facility. while we may make alternatives to its operation, we will be just adding another potential point of failure. For I-2 being the most urban of townships in the county, have seen vehicles go down my street and illuminate as they pass from garage door to garage door. This is just a condition that in some ways is almost looking for a problem that has not yet been articulated. And while I support the concept, I do not support this as an amendment to an operational standard of a facility of this type.
Any other discussion?
Why couldn't you?
Okay, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Gardner?
I guess I'm gonna vote no.
Mr. Cozen?
No.
Mr. Schnabel?
No.
Ms. Beverly?
No.
Mr. Jers?
No.
Ms. Donner?
No.
And I'll vote no, so this fails 0-7. Okay, any other conditions? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for the conditions that we have.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Beverly, second by Ms. Gardner to approve the conditions. Discussion, any discussion? I'll call for the vote. Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes.
Mr. Jers?
Just for the conditions. Conditions, yes.
Ms. Donner?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, this is 7-0 approving the conditions. At this time, we would entertain a request for the conditional use permit.
I'll make that motion
Ms.
as
Donner,
stated.
I'll second.
second by Ms. Beverly. Discussion, Ms. Donner.
None for me. I'm good.
Ms. Beverly?
Yeah, this application is consistent with the one that we saw 2 weeks ago from this petitioner, and it is in compliance with our current UDO standards for a solar farm. The petitioner is familiar with constructing and permitting for a solar farm and is willing to follow all of our standards and conditions that we've imposed. And there is no public comment in this case, and we did not receive any objection letters from the public prior to this hearing, so I would recommend that we approve this as stated.
Mr. Cozen?
I concur with the characterization of the public record in this matter and recognize the quality and professionalism of the record as submitted. Also, the comments made by the various staff, including the fire department. And so therefore, I too will be supporting this petition.
Ms. Donner?
I will be supporting this petition.
Oh, yes, you're right, yes. Ms. Gardner?
I support the petition. I would encourage you to look at placing that light a little lower if possible, or as low as possible, in order to see the NOx specs. Otherwise, everything else looks just like it should. So I'm in favor.
Mr. Schnabel?
I agree with everything that's been said, and I'll relinquish to my colleague, Mr. Jers.
Thanks, Kurt.
Mr. Jers?
Because this doesn't fit in our 2030 comprehensive plan, and because it is for eternity, I do not support the petition and vote no.
Okay, and I support the petition. It meets the state standards, and we can't vote no on any petition that meets the state standards. And also, it meets the standards in our ordinance. There's a need for renewable energy. Our county supports that. This will be community solar. It'll be available to people in this county for them to use solar and save on their electric bill. And I believe it's site plan, all the things they'll have to work with the county will address any issues with any soil or wetland issues. So I think that this is a good project. So I'm in favor. So I'll take the vote. Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes.
Mr. Jers?
No.
Ms. Donner?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so this goes to the county board with a 6-1 approval. Thank you, everyone. At this time, my hearing is closed.